out of this, and how are we going to profit from it? Let's see. The financial system, I just said that one. Migration, productivity, and competition. The challenges of integration. How are we going to get people to accept this? A new world governance. That's the opening luncheon yesterday. And, of course, thriving in a new financial order. Today, they talked about things like agricultural production and food safety, minimizing risk to public health. That's why we need to ban your organic farms. Let's let Monsanto give us all the foods. That'll help the public health. Yeah, right. Energy in North America, key issues and opportunities. Going green, population sustainability, getting away from bad oil. Oh, remember they really promote peak oil in that ABC 2100 documentary, or mockumentary, if you will. They'd like you to believe it's a documentary, and on some level, it really is, because these scientists, they have just blatantly lying, or either that or they're brainwashed. They're probably a little bit of both. I mean, the scientists up there probably do believe that CO2 is the devil. They've been indoctrinated. Let's see what we have here. Energy and sustainable development in the context of the economic crisis, the era of electric transportation in North America. Remember, Earth 2100, the cars that you had were on a massive line. Like, you know how buses in some cities have that thing on the top and they run on power lines? They're expecting us to be like that. We have to get on mass transit lines. We have to be regulated in our movement. Here we go. Sustainable development and psychological health in the workplace. See, they want to be able to screen whatever you're thinking. And if you're not healthy psychologically, you just can't work here anymore. That's sustainable development. And then sustainability and infrastructure are public-private partnerships, a public service solution. And I'm going to guess they're going to say yes, because that's exactly what this AmeriCorps is. That's what this Give Act provides, is these these private organizations to get public funding. Genomics towards a revolution, that's out of UNESCO. Sustainable development and renewable energy, and why invest in genomics. And there's so much more. We'll probably cover even more of that tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow, Madeleine Albright giving the speech at noon, the Americas and the New World Order. Let's go to, well, one of the Johns dropped, but we have one of the Johns on the air. Oh, wait, we have somebody before that. Who are we on? We're on Chris in Florida. Chris, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Hey, nutrigenomics, since you just brought that up, that's an interesting study that nutrition can actually cause different genetic expressions, so that would be a good answer to the so-called science of eugenics, those who blindly believing it. But what I called about was about Obama's speech using the term New World Order, this past June 4th in Egypt. He said, given our interdependence, any world order that it elevates one nation or group of people over another will inevitably fail. Now, what he's referring to is the Trilateral Commission and Council on Foreign Relations and Kissinger's and Rockefeller's and Brzezinski's writings using the words interdependent. And when you look at the Trilateral Commission's first aim, it says growing interdependence is a fact of life of the contemporary world. It transcends and influences national systems. It requires new and more intensive forms of international cooperation to realize its benefits and to counteract economic and political nationalism. So what he's actually admitting here is this interdependent plan is that, according to their own writings, the meaning of interdependence is that they want to set up an enforced interdependence so that there will be less likely for sovereignty or home rule to spring up when you have certain bloc governments. Say the European Union involved in one industry, American Union or Asian Union involved in another, well, they'll be less likely to go to war with each other, but that gives the oligarchs or the tyrants all the control.
And you said this speech was on June 4th? It was like 5 days ago?
Yeah, that was in Egypt, in Cairo, Egypt.
I'm going to have to go get that speech. Hopefully somebody filmed the whole thing, or we have it live. Or BL, if you're out there and you've got the tape, please give it up. I thank you for the call. Let's go to Will in Canada. Will, you're on the line. Yes, Will.
Hey, I need to ask you a favor. Can you give me a couple of minutes to explain a few things about the Canadian branch of the NAFTA superhighway?
Let's hear it.
I can tell you exactly where they're building it and everything.
Okay.
You got Google Maps up on your computer?
I do not, but my board guys are listening.
Okay, tell them to zoom in to basically the Golden Horseshoe, the part of Canada that forks down between all the Great Lakes.
So it's in the Great Lakes area? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Between Detroit, Buffalo, and Toronto, that area there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I live in Kitchener, Ontario, and I travel for a living, so I drive down these stretches of highway to Sarnia and Detroit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, those massive arteries are all being expanded, and from the size of the expansion, it looks like they could be going to 5 or 6 lanes total. Mm-hmm. And I literally have videos of me filming driving at 65 miles an hour for over an hour, just watching construction. And you're talking about a massive highway expansion all the way through the arteries from Toronto into Detroit. As well, just as a precursor to show people that they've already actually put a chunk of it in, is back in the mid-'90s, there was a government-funded project that was supposed to be a toll highway. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be run by the government. It's called the ETR 407. That goes from Hamilton and forks all the way around Toronto, and it's an express toll route. Basically, the minute that the highway was being built, it was given to offshore corporations, and they tax on the highway now. So just to give you an idea, for every half hour you drive on this highway, it costs $15. It uses a sophisticated control grid technology, which scans plates as you enter and exit any portion of the highway. Mm-hmm. But you can buy a transponder, and that reduces the cost somewhat, because instead of them having to go through the database and read your plate, they use the transponder code that you emit when you enter the highway to know exactly where you got on and got off. So basically, we're looking at the portion built around Toronto has already been built and given to offshore corporations, been over a decade. And then the arteries connecting Detroit, and they'll probably carry it on to Buffalo the other way, are basically what I see as these NAFTA superhighways. Like, they've been doing extensive construction on these massive lengths of arteries of highway.
And when have you seen this? Is this over the last 6 to 12 months? I mean, how long?
Going on? They've been doing projects from Sarnia to London now for probably 5 years, and from London to Kitchener in the last 2 years, they've basically the whole section of highway is completely under construction. And you're, like the amount of concrete they've laid, you could support 5 to 6 lanes in any given direction. The interesting note is that the place where we would need that infrastructure is in Toronto. The portions of the highway from anywhere from Kitchener to Sarnia, Kitchener, Detroit, were 2 lanes for the longest time, and there's never traffic jams on them. So why they're expanding these highways to 6 lanes in either direction is just beyond me, right? It makes no sense whatsoever when we have this massive core in Toronto that would require some type of transportation pipeline of that magnitude.
Well, it certainly makes sense for a North American union, that's for sure. Hey, I thank you for the call, man. I appreciate the call. Let's go to, who are we on? We're on Josh, we're on Josh in Ontario. Josh, you're on the line.
Hey, what's up, Jason? Good on you and Alex for getting on this adapting to a new world order thing. Mm-hmm. It was actually advertised in the National Post on the back pages about a month before.
And they're one of the sponsors of this, by the way.
Yeah, they're in the National Post, they're a bunch of neocons that are running it. And if you're going to have an interview with Jonathan Kay, make sure you tear him a new one, because this guy was in Montreal refuting what Richard Gage's presentation. He was the only guy there who still agreed with the official story after the presentation.
He actually wrote a pretty fair article afterwards saying that he was the only person. He even brought a friend with him who he didn't think that was going to be swayed by the evidence, but even she was, and somehow this guy wasn't. What were the questions he was asking at the end? Did he say something at the end, or did he just raise his hand and say that he still believed the official version?
No, he was outed by a bunch of Ottawa 9/11 for Truth and stuff like that. He wasn't there. He was just there to observe, but people knew who he was and what his previous articles have been about, and they've always slammed the whole movement and the whole the whole theory of the controlled demolition. These guys are a bunch of neocons, okay, and they're strictly like George Bush neocons. They won't even talk about Ron Paul in their paper, not even once. That paper.
How big is the National Post over there?
The National Post. Well, they're they're a second tier national paper that's kind of going bankrupt. So people who consider themselves on the right, they'll read the National Post, even though most people